Malaysia is known for its rich culture, beautiful landscapes, and spine-chilling ghost stories. From abandoned mansions to tragic ruins, these places hold terrifying secrets that may send shivers down your spine. Are you brave enough to explore the supernatural? Join us as we uncover the 5 most haunted places in Malaysia where the spirits never rest. And neither will you after hearing these stories. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you dare. Now, let's dive into the darkness. Kelly's Castle in Perak. The story begins with one man, William Kelly Smith, a Scottish planter who arrived in Malaya in the late 19th century. Wealthy from his successful rubber plantations, he envisioned a grand castle, blending Scottish, Moorish, and Indian architecture, a symbol of his power. His legacy: he spared no expense. Secret tunnels, grand hallways, a rooftop courtyard with a breathtaking view, and even a wine cellar for extravagant feasts. But what was meant to be a dream quickly turned into a curse. Strange accidents plagued the workers. Stories of ghostly figures and shadows lurking in the corridors spread like wildfire. The castle, it seemed, did not want to be built. Then, in 1926, tragedy struck. Kelly Smith left for Europe to purchase an elevator, the first of its kind in Malaya, but he never returned. A sudden illness claimed his life in Portugal, leaving his beloved castle unfinished, abandoned, cursed. The workers, stricken with fear, refused to continue construction. His wife and children, heartbroken, left Malaya, never to step foot in the castle again. But William Kelly Smith, he never truly left. Visitors and paranormal investigators have reported unsettling encounters, footsteps echoing when no one is there. A shadowy figure believed to be Kelly himself, standing at the rooftop, gazing at his unfinished dream. Some say, if you whisper his name, he whispers back. And then there are the spirits of the workers. Many were said to have died during construction. Rumors tell of a devastating flu outbreak. Others speak of forced labor, whispers of bodies buried within the very walls of this castle. Do their souls wander these halls, waiting, watching? The underground tunnels remain unexplored, their entrances sealed, as if hiding something. Something that should never be disturbed. One of the most chilling reports comes from the corridor near the wine cellar. A little girl in a white dress standing in the shadows. Some say she is Kelly's daughter, returned in spirit. Others believe she was never meant to be there in the first place. Even the air feels heavy, as if the walls themselves remember. Tourists have reported feelings of dread and nausea and an overwhelming urge to run. Those who dared to stay past sundown have felt unseen hands brushing against their skin, whispering, calling them deeper into the castle's heart. One visitor described seeing a figure standing at the balcony, watching. Another claimed their camera captured a faceless apparition staring back. A group of ghost hunters once spent a night here, but fled before sunrise, refusing to ever return. So, what do you believe? Is Kelly's castle merely an abandoned relic? Or is it something far more sinister? A trap for lost souls, a haunted palace, a cursed dream never meant to be completed? Perhaps you should visit. Walk its halls. Listen to the whispers. Just don't go alone. And whatever you do, don't look behind you. The Highland Towers, where the dead never sleep. December 11th, 1993. A date that will forever haunt Malaysia. A luxury apartment complex, once a proud testament to modern architecture, turned into a mass grave in a matter of seconds. Tower 1 of the Highland Towers collapsed, burying dozens alive beneath tons of concrete and steel. 48 lives lost, crushed, suffocated, trapped in an unrelenting tomb. And for those who survived, the nightmare had only just begun. But some say something else remained. The spirits, the tormented, the forgotten, they never left. The Highland Towers became a ghost hunter's paradise, a playground for the foolish and the curious. But those who entered, many of them left changed. Or worse, didn't leave at all. Whispers in the wind, the faint, choked cries of unseen victims, and the shadows watching from the corners where the light dares not reach. There are tales of people who vanish without a trace, of visitors who entered, only to leave with unexplained bruises and scratches. And some never made it back at all. Some call them ghosts. Some say it's the trapped souls of those who perished in the collapse. Others whisper about something older, something that was there long before the towers were built. You don't have to believe, but if you visit the Highland Towers and you hear a whisper in your ear or a shadow moves in the corner of your eye, run. Villa Navila, enter if you dare. Once, this place was a grand estate, home to a wealthy family. But what happened within these walls turned it into a nightmare. Some say the owner was brutally murdered. Others claim it was a tale of greed, where a daughter killed her own family for an inheritance. And then there are whispers of children disappearing, never to be seen again. Many who have stepped inside this forsaken mansion have reported strange occurrences, disembodied voices calling their names, shadows moving when no one is there, and the overwhelming feeling that something is watching. Was it the spirit of the murdered family, or something far worse? Many who have dared to enter claim to see the lady in white, an apparition that stands motionless in the shadows, her presence overwhelming with sorrow and rage. In 2013, Villa Navila made headlines when a teenage boy reportedly went missing inside. Police scoured the mansion, searching every corner, but there was no trace of him. Hours later, he was found wandering aimlessly, his face pale, his eyes distant. When asked what happened, he could only whisper one thing: "She wouldn't let me leave." What did he see? Who was she? And why do so many who enter Villa Navila describe the same haunting presence? Some say it's just the wind, others, an overactive imagination. But those who have faced the darkness of Villa Navila, they know better. So what is the truth behind Villa Navila? Was it a place of unspeakable tragedy? Or is it merely an abandoned house wrapped in myth and fear? No matter the answer, one thing remains certain. Something lurks within those walls. Something waiting. Would you dare step inside? Mona Fande's house in Pahang. Mona Fande wasn't just any ordinary name. In the 1990s, she was known as a famous Bomo, or witch doctor, who promised wealth and power through dark rituals. But behind her charms and elaborate ceremonies, a monstrous truth was lurking. In 1993, a high-profile murder shook Malaysia to its core. A politician named Mazlan Idris sought Mona's assistance to gain power. But instead of granting his wish, Mona and her accomplices brutally murdered him in a ritualistic killing, decapitating him and mutilating his body beyond recognition. Her trial became one of the most infamous in Malaysian history. And as she was sentenced to death, Mona only smiled and said, "Many believe that Mona's dark energy never left, that even after her execution, something or someone still lingers in her old home." So tonight, we step inside, if we dare. The air is thick with an unnatural silence. Every step forward feels like something is watching, waiting. This is where it happened. The very room where Mona performed her rituals, where victims were said to have bled for her sinister rites. Local villagers have reported hearing whispers at night, the echo of Mona's last words floating in the air. She never left. And now, neither can we. The curse of Karak Highway. Built to connect Kuala Lumpur and Kuantan, Karak Highway has long been a vital route for travelers. But beneath its asphalt lies a sinister past. The road has witnessed countless fatal accidents, twisted metal, and lives cut short in an instant. And where tragedy lingers, something else follows, something not of this world. Legends of Karak Highway run deep. Some say a young boy roams the road at night, searching for his lost mother. Others claim a mysterious yellow Volkswagen appears in the rearview mirror, tailgating aggressively, only to vanish when overtaken. And then there's the most feared entity of all, the faceless woman. Many travelers have reported seeing a woman in white, standing alone by the road. Her long black hair cascades down her face, obscuring her features. Some who dared to stop and offer help never made it home. Others who sped past found her suddenly seated in their back seat, her breath cold against their neck. And those who gathered the courage to look at her face saw nothing but a smooth, featureless void. There are many who dismiss these tales as mere superstition. But let me tell you the story of Amir, a lorry driver who traveled Karak Highway one fateful night. It was past midnight. The rain poured relentlessly. Amir was used to these lonely drives, but that night, he felt something was wrong. Chills ran down his spine. He turned off the radio, shaking his head. He told himself he was just tired. But then he saw it, his grip tightened on the wheel. His instincts screamed at him to keep driving. But just as he passed her, his truck stalled. The engine died. Amir's breath hitched. His fingers trembled as he reached for the ignition. But before he could turn the key, a tap, tap, tap on his window. Heart pounding, Amir turned and saw nothing. The road was empty. The woman was gone. He exhaled shakily, relief washing over him. But then he heard breathing. A chill wrapped around his neck. His hands shook as he glanced at the rearview mirror. And there she was, in the back seat. Amir woke up in a hospital, his truck found overturned in a ditch. The paramedics said he was lucky to be alive. But Amir knew better. He was never alone that night. And he never drove Karak Highway again. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, Karak Highway remains one of the most haunted roads in Malaysia. So if you ever find yourself driving down its darkened path, keep your eyes on the road. Never stop. And whatever you do, don't look in your rear-view mirror. The abandoned Pudu Jail. Built in 1895, Pudu Jail was meant to house criminals, but over time, it became something far worse. A place of nightmares, a place of death, a place where the souls of the damned still whisper in the dark. Thousands were imprisoned here. Some were thieves, others were murderers, but some were simply at the wrong place at the wrong time. And then there were those who never left even after death. The execution chamber, a place where justice was served, or so they claimed. More than 180 men were hanged here, their last breaths choked away by the weight of a rope. But what happens when a soul dies violently? What happens when the body is buried, but the spirit remains? Visitors, guards, even demolition workers have reported unexplainable sights and sounds. Faint cries echoing through the empty halls. Footsteps that stop when you listen too closely. And worse, the feeling of being watched. They say the last moments of a condemned man are the most terrifying. The weight of their crimes crushing down on them. Their last words, prayers, curses hanging in the air. And some refuse to go quietly. A former inmate, known only as a cow, was locked away for a crime he swore he didn't commit. He spent years inside a solitary cell, scratching on the walls, whispering to himself. Then one night he screamed, a scream so inhuman that the guards rushed to his cell. What they found defied explanation. A cow was curled in the corner, eyes rolled back, mouth muttering words no one understood. His fingernails broken and bleeding. The next morning, he was found hanging in his cell, but the scratching never stopped. Even today, those who dare to step inside report hearing faint scratching, as if someone or something is still trapped within. Poodoo Jail was finally torn down, reduced to rubble, but a place soaked in so much agony does not simply disappear. The land remembers, and sometimes the dead refuse to leave. So, if you ever find yourself walking past the old grounds of Poodoo Jail, listen carefully. You just might hear the whispers of those who still remain. So these were the most haunted places in Malaysia. Would you dare visit any of them? Tell me in comments. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more haunted and creepy places. Until then, stay safe and stay curious.